Hey, what's up everyone, hope you're doing fine. Welcome to this chapter 2 of the tutorial web development. So in this tutorial I'm going to show you how you can create a fixed nav bar. A nav bar is the topmost part of your website that will contain links to the various parts of your website. We are going to use Bootstrap to create the fixed nav bar. What is Bootstrap? Bootstrap is the most popular HTML, CSS and JavaScript framework for developing responsive web projects. So let me just take you through what we'll be creating here. So I have Mozilla Firefox opened and with my sample project. As you can see from the topmost part here, I have the brand name which I've just called Fixed Nav Bar. And then I have some quick links to the various parts of the website. Although they are not working, they're just a sample of what we can have in a real website. Then down here I just have a sample content that you can have in a browser or in your website rather. So if I scroll just like that, you're going to see that the nav bar is actually fixed. So I'm just scrolling and the rest of the body is moving except the nav bar. One other thing that is also very good to notice is that if I come and restore the browser, you're going to see that the various links that were here will be hidden. And then what we are going to have here is this button. So upon clicking this button, I'm going to see the various links appear. So this is what we call responsiveness, that the website can be able to respond to the size of the device that it is being viewed on. So if I come and try maybe to stretch it a little bit here, you're going to see the links appear. So if you're viewing it on this, if you're viewing it on a device that is this size, you'll always see the links. But if the device maybe get smaller and smaller, the links will be hidden, and this is what you're going to find. So this is what we'll be creating in this tutorial, and I hope these will be very interesting. So I'm ready to start. Hope you are ready. Now to get started, you need to have access to the Bootstrap files. You can do this by either downloading the Bootstrap files from the Bootstrap website, or linking or having a link to the Bootstrap files on your website. I usually recommend downloading the files into your local machine so that you always have access to the Bootstrap files whether you're online or not. So I'm just going to show you how you can be able to have access to these files. So open your browser and search for Bootstrap. So search for Bootstrap. So I'm just going to search for a Bootstrap here. So head on to your search bar and search for Bootstrap. So upon searching that, go with the very first option that appear on the list. So just click on that. This should take you to the Bootstrap website. So as you can see, the Bootstrap will help you to build fast, responsive sites, which are very responsive, mobile fast, and Bootstrap is the world's most popular front-end open source that will have toolkits, features and all those stuff. So what you can do is you can just come and click the download. So this one will help you to download all the CSS and JavaScript and jQuery files that you require to build your responsive mobile fast website. Or you can scroll down here, and these are now the links that you can be able to copy and paste onto your project file. So upon copying and pasting this link into your project file, you're simply linking to the CSS or to the Bootstrap CSS files. You can also come and copy these links. So these will link you to the jQuery and the JavaScript bundles that will help to have your website being responsive, being mobile ready, and you see, being a professional website. So you can copy these into the head of your project file, or what I recommend, you can simply come and download the files. So you're going to download the file in a zipped manner, so like the files will be zipped, so you need to extract the files and then have them in the folder that contain your project files, or have it in your project file folder. So that's what I've already done. So I've already downloaded this. So if I head on to that location here, so I'm saving my project files in a folder called sample website, that is in this path XAMPP and htdocs. So you can save yours in any other location. You don't have to save it in the htdocs or in XAMPP because this is just a static website, so it's not a dynamic website. So if we get to creating a PHP website or using PHP language, we can have it saved in the htdocs. But for now, because we're just building a static website, you can be able to like save it anywhere in your machine. But for my case, I've just saved it there because that's where I usually save my web projects. So I already have now this folder called assets. So this is the one that contains the Bootstrap CSS and the Bootstrap JavaScript. So if I come and open that, I should be able to see the CSS. If I open that, I'm going to see the Bootstrap, the CSS Bootstrap, and when I go back here, I'll also be able to see the JavaScript as well. So the JavaScript files, the Bootstrap JavaScript files are also here. So for your website to work, or for you to build a Bootstrap website, then you need to have something like this. So for this folder, you can call it any name, but when you get in here, this should be called CSS. So this is where now you are going to have all your Bootstrap CSS, and you should also have the JS, where you are going to have your JavaScript files. So this is very, very, very important. You can give it any name as long as you are going to also have that in your project files. So we're going to see that as we continue. So having said that, now we can now head on to our IDE or our text editor. So in my case, I'm using Visual Studio Code as my text editor, but you can use any text editor, but I will recommend you to use this text editor because it is one of the text editors that will help you to build a website very, very fast. So it has tools that will help you to quickly build a website. Again, it is free. You can download it for free, among other advantages that it comes with. So I'm using this as my text editor. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to create a new file. So this new file is one that will contain the code for my fixed nav bar. So I'm just going to come and click a new file here. Yeah, the new file will be created, and the first thing that I usually do when I create a new file is to save it. So I'll head on to file. So I'll head on to file here, and I want to save this file. So I'll go to save as, and this should open the save as dialog window. So from here, I need to come and select the location where I want to save the file. So I'll go to that specific location just in a second. So just a moment. So I'm saving it in a file or in a folder called sample website. So I'm going to save it here, and I can just come and call it fixed nav bar. Let me just call it fixed nav bar, and because it will be a HTML file, I want to give it an extension of .html. So I'll go to the save as type, and then I'll select HTML, and then I'll come and save that. So that name should appear here as well as here in a moment. There you go. So it will also on top here show me the path where the current file or the current project that I'm working on is. So it is in XAMPP htdocs in a folder called sample website, and that's where I have the file. So now from here, the first thing that I need to do is to have that basic HTML structure. And if you're using Visual Studio, it is very easy to have that basic structure. So what you can do is that you can just type the exclamation mark, and then you hit the tab. So that will have you with a basic HTML structure, where you are going to have the doc type being HTML, the HTML element having this attribute of language, and the language that I'm using is English. And then I'm going to have this element here, the head, within which I have the meta and the title. So I can come and change the title to Fixed Nav Bar. Fixed nav bar, nav bar, like that. Maybe I can have these in capital letter, fixed nav bar. Yeah, that's nice. And then now in the body down here, that's where I'm going to have the fixed nav bar. But before we get there, I need to have a link to the Bootstrap, because as it is currently we don't have access to the Bootstrap. So what I'm going to do down here is to have a link to the Bootstrap CSS and the Bootstrap JavaScript files. So I'm going to have the link down here. So I'm just going to type link, then hit tab. So this is just some sort of an attribute or a HTML element that will help you to link to your CSS files. So the link, and it has the so it's actually an attribute. Let me just call it an attribute, and it will have rather not an attribute. Let me just call it an HTML element that will help you to link to the CSS files. So now, before we get started with our fixed nav bar, the first thing that I want to do here is to link my Bootstrap files, that is both the Bootstrap CSS and the Bootstrap JavaScript. So I'm going to have the link element here. So I'm just going to type link, and then I hit tab. So that will autocomplete everything here. So I'm going to have the link element and the attribute lil, which will have the style sheet, and then in the href I'm going to have the path where I have the Bootstrap CSS and the Bootstrap JavaScript. So we already know that I have my Bootstrap files in this folder called assets. So because I'm currently in this location here, in this path here, I want to tell the browser that from where I am here, it should go to assets, open that folder, then get on to CSS, and it should pick one of these files. So I'll be linking to the bootstrap.min.css. So I'm going to get to the Visual Studio program, and here I'm going to tell it that because I'm already in the sample website, I want you to get to the assets folder. So I'm going to come and type assets here, and then open that. So I'm going to tell it to open that using the forward slash, and then it should get to CSS forward slash, and then what it should pick here is the Bootstrap main.css. So Bootstrap main.css, So I'm just going to come and select that. So as you can see, as I type all of these, if I can just repeat that just so that you can see what is happening. If I come and type assets, you find that the Visual Studio program is very clever. It notices that I'm in the sample website, and I'm in the sample website folder. So it knows that inside that sample website folder we have another folder that is called assets. So when I just come and type AWS, it will automatically detect that and it will show it here. So I don't even have to complete this. I can just come and click that. Again, it knows that now within the assets folder we have the CSS folder, which is what I want. So I can just come and click that. And you also notice that it is putting that /, which means that it is opening, like it is getting into that specific folder. Now upon getting into the CSS folder, it now finds some specific files which it displays here. So I don't have to come and type all of these. I can just be like, you see, selecting, and everything is appearing. So I want to link to this specific file, the bootstrap.min.css. It is one that contains the CSS files that will help me in building the fixed nav bar. So I'll just come and select that, and that's very okay. That's very nice. So that's very nice. So I can just come and now just leave it as it is. So I now have a link to the various bootstrap CSS files that I require. I also need to link to my JavaScript folder. So in this, I'm not going to use the link element. I'm going to use what we call the script. So I'm just going to come and write a script here, script like that, and then now within here I'm going to have a link to the various files that I need. And that is the JavaScript file. So I'm going to come and just write a source as the attribute source, like that, and then I'm going to tell it that the source is a folder called assets. So I'm just going to type that here as it appears. So I'm just going to type that assets. As you can see, as usual, it brings that. And then I'm going to tell it that I don't want CSS, rather what I want is so now after linking to the bootstrap.min.css, that is simply the CSS files, the next thing that I want to do is to have a link to the JavaScript files. So what I'm going to do to link to that, I'm going to come and have this element, the script element. So I'll just write script. So this will help me to link to the JavaScript files. So within the first tag, within the first script tag, I'm going to come and have an attribute with the name of source. So this will help me now to like tell the program where the source is, or that is the JavaScript files, where are they located. So I can just come and have that, and I'm going to tell it that my JavaScript files are in a folder called assets. So I'm just going to come and write assets here, and the Visual Studio program will know that now in the assets folder we have the JavaScript folder. So I can just come and select that, and again I want to link to the bootstrap.bado.js, bootstrap.bado.min.js. So I'm just going to come and select that, and simply by just doing that I have linked to the JavaScript files. A simple fixed nav bar is created using the class nav bar, followed by a collapsing class which is usually expand extra large expand large, expand medium, and expand small. Now what this class will do is that it will stack the nav bar vertically on extra large, medium, or small screens. So what do I mean? Let's do it practically so that we understand. So I've said that for you to create a simple navigation bar, you can have an element which is usually nav, and give it a class of nav bar. This class nav bar is followed by another class which is nav bar collapse. I mean a nav bar expand. Sorry, a nav bar expand. So now this nav bar expand will like stack the nav bar vertically on the specific size of the screen that you've given. Either it is extra large, medium, or small. So in our case, we are going to say medium. So this one will mean that the nav bar will be stacked vertically on the medium screen. So I'm also going to come and give the nav bar a color. So I'll add the class nav bar dark. So this will give it that dark. This will give that text, will give the text a light color. So sorry, so the nav bar dark will simply make sure that the text in the nav bar appears in a light color. So it's actually like the opposite. So instead of saying nav bar light, we'll say nav bar dark. So now, upon doing that, the next class that we can add is the background. So I can come and say the background should be dark. So it is the BG dark that will give the nav bar a dark background. So I'll just come and say a nav bar dark. And because we are creating a fixed nav bar, I'll also come and add a class of fixed top. So I'll just come and say fixed top, just like that. So now within this nav element, we are going now to have some content. The first content will be first creating a div with a class of container fluid. So I'll just come and say dot container fluid. So that will be a div with that container. So every content that we'll be creating within the nav element will be within this container. So now the first part of our navigation bar is the brand name. So I'm just going to have it within an anchor tag, and this anchor tag will have a class of nav bar brand. So the nav bar brand will help us to have that brand name on top there. So I'm just going to say a dot nav bar hyphen brand. So it will not be linking to anything for now, so I'll just put a hashtag there, and then here I can maybe come and just say fixed nav bar. Now having done that, the next thing that we want to do is to add a button. So we want when this website is viewed on any screen that is less than a medium screen, anything that is below medium, say small or even extra small, the links should be hidden, and what we should be seeing is a button that can help us to toggle between seeing the links and hiding them, seeing the links and not seeing them. So we are going to have a toggle button that will help us to display or hide the links if the website is viewed on a screen that is less than a medium screen. So I'll add that button here. So I'll just come and say a button, and I'll have it with a class of nav bar toggle. So I'll say class nav bar toggle, and I'll have it with a type of button. Of course it is a button, so I'll just come and say button. And then I'll also have another attribute here, the data toggle, and the data toggle will be collapse. So this will just mean that the button will be collapsing or showing some content. And the data target will be data target this one I'm going to put so in this you can put anything so long as the name that you're going to put here will start with a hashtag. So this one is the one that will be telling the button where to go upon being clicked. So we're going to see how this works practically later. So I'll just give it a class of Nav Bar collapse, but you can give it any name as long as it starts with that hashtag. I also have another attribute here, area control, and for the area controls I'll come and say Nav Bar collapse. So that is Nav Bar collapse. So I'll also put another attribute there, which is area expanded, and this one I'll come and say false. We're going to understand all these as we continue, so don't worry. So I'm just going to say false, yeah, just like that. So maybe we can break this a bit so that we are able to see everything clearly. So that is our button. Now within the button we are going to have some other content here, so I'm just going to come and say span. So this one will have or will help us now to have the button looking like a hamburger, that simply a button that will have those 3 lines that you usually see. So I'll come and say span, and I'll have this span with a class of Nav Bar toggle icon. Nav Bar toggle icon. So this should be class, should start with class, and then it should be Nav Bar toggle icon. So just like that, and then we are done with that. So now it is now below the button that we can now come and add our links. But before we add the links, we should have that in yet another div that will have a class of collapse, Nav Bar collapse. So I'll come and have a div. So I can just come and say dot collapse. So we'll have that div. Then we can also come and add the other class, which is Nav Bar collapse. And on top of that, we also have an ID of what we load on top here. So what this basically means is that when a person clicks this button, when he or she is viewing this website on a medium or a small screen, when a person clicks the button, he should be taken to the content that we are going to have in this div, which will be the links. So we want, if this website is viewed on a small screen, the links should be hidden, and what we should see is the button. But the person has that will of or that chance of seeing the links by just clicking on the button. So we are telling the browser, or we're just simply indicating that when a person clicks this button, he should be like opening or he should be seeing the link that we are going to have in this specific location here. As you can see, the attribute here is data target, so we are just simply saying that the target will be this div, and that's why we are giving it the same ID as we load for the data target attribute. Hope that makes some sense, but we're going to see how that works practically as we continue. So now I'm going to have the nav bar links in an ordered list, so that is UL. So I'm going to have the UL element here, the UL element, and I'm going to have it with a class of nav bar nav. Like that, and I'm also going to give it some other classes here which we are going to understand their purpose practically. I may not be able to explain theoretically, but we will see the purpose of these practically. So I'll just show you how that works practically. So now within the UL, or the unordered list element, I'm going to have now the list, or the nav item. So I'm going to have the nav items in the li attribute or element rather, and I'm going to have that with a class of nav item. So I'm going to say li dot nav hyphen item, and because it will be the first item, I want to make it active. So this will either give it a different background color or a different text or font color. So now within now the li, I'm now going to have the actual link. So I'm going to have an anchor tag there with a class of nav link. So nav link, and here I'm just going to put the hash, and I will also come and say this will be. So now I want now to have several links. So what I can do is that I can come and copy this down here, and I will remove the active. I don't want that active, and this active should actually be within here. Yeah, within there. So I'm just going to remove that as well, and I can change this to about, and I can change this to contacts. Yeah, so there you go. So we almost done with the fixed nav bar. Hope everything is intact as it should be. Just a double checking, and I think everything is well, so I can just come and save that. And then I'll go to the location where I have saved that project file, which is in the sample website folder. So I can just come and open it from there. And there we are going to have our navigation, fixed navigation bar, and just so that we see whether the navigation is working or it is fixed on top there, I want us to have some content here, some sample content here, so that we see whether really this nav bar is fixed. But before we get there, we can test how responsive it is. So I'll just come and restore down here, and what we are going to see is that the links will be hidden, and we are going to see the button. Although the button seems to have a problem, I'm going to fix that, but it is working. As you can see, So if I come and enlarge this a bit, so you can see this is somehow medium, so I can still see the links. But if I make it smaller, so the links are hidden, and I'm just going to have that a button appearing there. So let's try to fix that button, because the button should not look like that. Yes, so we made a mistake here, so it should be Nav Bar toggler. So let me see that, save, and refresh that, then we do it like that. Yeah, so there we have a very nice hamburger button there. So upon clicking that, it appears, it disappears like that. So this is why we are calling it a toggle button or collapse, because it will help us to just show that. Alright, so before we continue, there are some attributes that we added here. Let's try to remove maybe just one and see the effect that it will have there. So no effect, so no need of having that. Let's also remove this and see. Yeah, so you can now see what it is doing. So it is just like creating some sort of padding on top of the fixed nav bar, so that we don't have the brand name in the same line with the links. So that's what this class is doing, the MD. And if, say for example, I come and make it 4, so we are just going to have it having a bigger top padding, like the space between it and the topmost edge here is a bigger. So I think this is a bit excess, so let me just stick to 2. Let me just stick with 2. Can refresh that. Yeah, and everything now looks a bit nice. So the hamburger, yeah, everything is good. So we can try to have some content here, so that we test whether the website is really responsive, so that we can see whether the nav bar is really fixed on top here. So I can come here just below the nav, and I can have container here. Maybe I can just come and call it main, and then I give it a class of container. So class container, and within this element I can just come and have a few stuff. Maybe I can have a div with a class of BG light, so I'm just saying that the background should be right in color, or I can also say dark. Maybe I can just come and say light, so that is right. And within that div I can have a few stuff. Maybe I can come and have the h1 element for a title, and then I can just come and say a nav bar example, nav bar example, and below that I can have. So now below here, maybe I can have some more content, maybe in a paragraph. So I can have a paragraph with a class of read, and then I can just try to get some content somewhere. So maybe I can come and copy this text here. We just have it here as an example. Paste there. that one looks good. Now we can try to see how that one looks on the browser. There, refresh that. Alright, so we have that. So I need to make it scrollable, like we can be able to scroll and see this part moving while this one is fixed. Alright, so what I can do, I can just come and copy this so that we have some more content. So I'm just going to come and copy and paste it down here. So that will now give us a scrollable page, sort of. Yeah. So as you can now see, the nav bar is actually fixed on top. So we are just scrolling the rest of the body while the nav bar is fixed on top there. You can see, so the nav bar is fixed on top there as we scroll the rest of the website.